Testing,
What about
testing.
now?
Hey,
Aha!
we're good, man. How are we
Figured
doing?
it out.
Yeah, I can hear you.
Doing good. Doing good. It's been a while since my last no wipe, but I can confirm they do exist.
They're
It is not a
fantastic, aren't
myth.
they? It's not a myth, you see? Twitch chat now knows. There's a guy there who's still shaking his head. He's like, nah, this guy's he's lying, man. It's a conspiracy.
You got to drink more. You got to drink more water. That's what you got to do.
That's true, actually.
I haven't
do.
figured out the pattern. I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, all I can rule out when it doesn't happen. Like, if you're eating a whole bunch of McDonald's, it's definitely not happening.
Oh yeah, no, that's definitely going to scare it away. Speaking of constipation, here we go.
This is a nasty all-in, man. This is a really hard to stop all-in. So,
Oh yeah.
It's one of those ones. Luckily, he didn't hide it, so you do see it.
No, did it right in front of my face, and the response I chose was to wall it off with a gateway, which I don't think was correct.
I think full wall's good. Your second gate was a reaction to the 12 pool, but you hadn't seen the drone pool yet, so that makes perfect sense. Yeah,
Right.
yeah. Because otherwise, you could have set up initially for the full wall if you knew this was coming, right?
Right.
Right,
And the only reason I saw the drone pull was I think I pulled it back to chill, like it just chills around there to see when the third goes down, if it does. But yeah, we were not getting to that phase of the game.
Okay, coaching 21st April 2024, drone drill plus 12 pool. I think walling off's usually a good idea. But the thing is, like, nothing completely just shuts it down. Like, you know, there's some all-ins where you just get a shutdown, and you're like, ha there's no way to do that.
So this is not a knowledge check then?
It's not just a knowledge check. I mean, obviously the knowledge helps you, but you still need to execute a little bit. And there are certain maps where they can't do that drill to kill the actual building in the wall, right?
Oh, interesting.
Because if they click on the minerals, they'll try to path off to like a cliff somewhere, right? And your wall off placement may even be able to influence that, but none of us are going to bother memorizing that for every map in every map pool. So it's
exactly.
like, technically, maybe if you walled off slightly further forward, they would derp out over behind the third base or something and just bug out against that cliff when you click on the minerals. But as it is, that's fine. Most important thing is to build units and then try to fight with those units and those probes together. So we're going to check the very basics first, right? First things first. Like, what time did our gate go down? Was it down at like 37, 38 seconds, right?
It was maybe a little late. It was probably a little late.
Yeah, that was like maybe 39. Could have been slightly faster, technically. Not the biggest deal. Yeah. You've also gone for a probe scout, so that always delays it because you've just got a slight bit less minerals, right? You've got to send a second probe down there to build it. So that's not going to be quite as fast.
Did I go for a probe scout this game?
Yeah, you got one.
Oh gosh, I don't normally do that. So that's I did that because this guy rolled random. That's why. Good
call. And it's very good you chose to do it then. Yeah, you went for the gateway as soon as you had the minerals. It's perfectly fine. So let's do it. So you've gone gateway. You chronoed your probes. You're gonna see 12 pool, and you go, oh, okay, I got a 2-gate wall. If he tried to kill you, cheeky little bugger. Good job going back to double check with your scout as well. Great job, man. This is good. Second gate goes down. Now, the one thing I always like to go pylon pretty much immediately. And I don't even mind delaying my second gate and my cyber core usually for it, just because I don't want to get supply blocked on the zealot production.
Yeah.
I think you've done a decent job. I think you've done a fine job.
I did go pylon. It's a little late, but I don't think it stops anything.
Okay, so here's an issue. You're delaying your cyber core. I think cutting probes at 19 is great. I think cutting probes to just get all these things down slightly faster is good because you're always going to pause probes a little bit usually during things anyway. And if you just pause it earlier, get your cyber core and zealot out a bit earlier and stuff, and second zealot, that's going to be great. So the problem here is our cyber core is getting delayed a little too much because you just have enough minerals for it, but then you're spending it all on the zealot. So if we aren't building that other probe, that would be great. Also, pull off gas. The moment you see a 12 pull, we don't want to be putting extra workers on gas. Now, at this point, you don't know, right? So you're just like, oh, no, you do know. Okay, yeah. Don't put an extra worker on gas because you're doing that because you normally do it or because this probe goes back. It's because you sent the probe.
I normally do it.
Yeah. Just make sure you don't do that because gas isn't important anymore, right? It's all minerals.
Okay.
So gas is secondary, right? We really just need gas for adept. We don't really need it for anything else. 16 on minerals whole time. can cut probes at like 17 or 18, something like that, 17 to 19, to get second gate, core, second pylon all started. Very important to get those started. So even if this was Cybercore was just a few seconds earlier by us cutting, say, one probe, I think that really helps us out because you're on 15 to 17, 18, 19. You're on 19. You're building a 20th probe before a Cybercore. We've already got enough to mine 2 on gas, 16 on minerals or whatever, right? Is 18 and have a worker at the wall and have a worker scouting, which is more than enough. So
cool.
That would be really good because then we could put the Cybercore down right now. Instead, we have to wait just a little bit. Oh, and you queue another probe. Oh, okay. Yeah, this is really gonna hurt. That's two probes extra. Whereas like
I have long seen the drones at this point too.
Yeah. Yeah, we absolutely don't need to be building probes. Now, to be fair, you can defend with Zealot probe. I think walling off is usually a good idea, but it's more important for you to just keep building Zealots. So let's see how we do this. So I don't think you need to be perfect with this. Yeah, you got to chrono a second Zealot straight away and pull all your probes. Basically, you just pull most of your probes as well. And then if you can just fight with like 2 Zealots and all your probes, I think you can kind of do okay against this. As long as you can then keep building Zealots.
Should I stack them?
Doesn't matter. Okay. You just need to fight. That's fucking it. No fancy micro required. Just the moment we cancel this gateway, if we have the Zealot waiting, the other Zealot almost popped, and let's say all of our probes. Let's just say we bring every single probe. Maybe we leave 1 or 2 on. I like to leave 2 on minerals, and they're all just there. We cancel the gate. We just move our shit.
So doing the math, that's going to be 17 probes, 2 Zealots against 14 drones and 12 Zerglings. Does that math check out?
Because you're in a choke point, only the drones can drill through. They'll get wrecked, right? And because you got more Zealots and then Adepts coming out, you're gonna fight pretty well. Now, don't get me wrong, it's always close. But the whole trick is then you get 1 Adept out and you win the game. As long as they can't
depower where this choke point will be. Where am I taking this fight?
In between your gateways. So remember, this gateway gets cancelled, or we don't even build it in the first place.
Oh, we don't even build it. Okay.
Yeah, one or the other. We like walling off's good if you've got money for it or whatever, but just building Zealots is way more important. If you cut probes early enough, you probably could have afforded this, I think. And we just need to delay. And remember that Adept's going to be out much faster if we do it that way. And that whole fight, you're going to lose all your probes. They're going to lose all their drones. They have no mining and no rally behind this, remember.
Okay, pause. Yeah. So, in theory, I've not really even built this gateway. The cyber core might like almost be up. I would in theory have a Zealot in the wall in between the gateways. We'll put a pin on that. This next Zealot would be maybe halfway to 3/4 finishing. Yes.
Yeah.
And I'm pulling all but 2 of my probes, right?
Yeah, let's leave 2 mining, and that's me kind of going, I think that sounds good. We might need to adjust it to be more optimal, but I don't think we need to be optimal with this, because I defend this a lot, and I often think I'm dead, and then I barely win, and I go, oh. And if I feel that way, I know it's not optimized, right? I'm like, know, I'm kind of making it, because it's so rare, it catches you off guard pretty much every time. Let's leave 2 probes mining.
And the one probe that I have, so obviously I'm not.
Yeah.
Very early on, you mentioned not having all of the, not filling my assimilators with probes. I'd leave 1 in there and 1 only. And I'm assuming once I get to 25 gas, I'd pull that off too, right?
No. You can build extra. Just make sure you leave the 16 on minerals. So you can still rally any extra probes onto the gas. But like, it's more important to get the second gate in the cyber core. So if you look at this moment in the game, we can look at that. And once again, we can go, hey, we want at like a minute 20, right? When this gateway is about to finish. That's kind of the point where we're like, okay, and sometimes it's, we should already be like, okay, we've got 16 on minerals, 1 on gas. Okay, like let's not build any more probes because we need 150 minerals for the core and 100 minerals for the zealot. So we need 250 minerals, right? As soon as that gateway is finished, yeah? So that's what's huge,
Cool.
The choke point. You don't want your zealot too far forward in the choke point.
So, right, that was the pin I was going to come back to. Is there a world where the drones can just like pop it out, kind of?
Yes, yeah. If they do it right, they'll pop him forward a little bit, and he'll die too quickly because he's too exposed. So your zealots are your big damage dealers. Remember, workers are always tanks, even in this fight. The drones are tanks, the probes are tanks, right? So you kind of want to be back from the choke. And you know how normally with Zealots versus Zerglings, you kind of defensive starter step. You hit, you pull back. You hit, you pull back. Sometimes you end up doing that a little bit. And sometimes it's boxing him and the probes that are around him and kind of just microing them as a little clump. But yeah, you generally want to make sure those Zealots just don't get surrounded. And if they go after them aggressively, then yeah, you can sometimes end up basically with like a red hit point Zealot just getting so much damage because they're trying to get through it and your probes are doing all this damage and blocking and your Zealot keeps getting a hit off and pulling away. And your other Zealot's out and your other Zealot's out. And then, you know, they finally kill it. But by that point, they've lost so many units. So that's really what it's all about. You can practice like hold position there can work as well. But yeah, continue.
Okay, so if we imagine, so the choke point that's created between these two gateways, first of all, is this ideal, or would I want this gateway jutted forward a little bit so there's like little like two squares? It's the only way I can describe it. Or do I want one square?
You could have two squares overlap, but then your second gateway can get focused down a bit easier because it's like sticking out even more and more. Okay. I think you're fine where you are. I don't think we need to optimize that. Yeah.
Okay, so that's fine, and then the single square where like I'm actually holding that choke point, as long as the Zealot is like there and like maybe back a little bit further, but still blocking it. That's what we're going for.
Yeah, and you kind of you've got a blob of units, so you can let a few units in here because you got like 16 probes and a Zealot and another Zealot like gonna pop out very quickly right afterwards. Because if you look at this, it only takes 17 seconds to build a Zealot with a chrono boost.
Right. Especially if I can, keep building the Zealot, the next chrono is going to, overlap with it, which I didn't get with this one.
Yes. So the second Zealot has a few seconds off it as well.
Yeah.
I mean, you can imagine if we build that, and especially if the gateway started like a second or two earlier, if you're not playing a random player and this happens as well, it might be 2 seconds faster, this first Zealot.
Right.
That second Zealot, let's imagine, even if we didn't chrono, this Zealot starts, let's say for some reason we double chrono probes like an idiot or something weird happens. 125 our Zealot starts, it's going to take us 54 seconds to get 2 Zealots. So that's going to be like 125, it's like what is that, 210?
212.
212. So let's see, where are we at 212? How long has he been at our base? Like 10 seconds? A little, 15 maybe.
He's there.
Yeah. So the Zealot is a little bit later, but yeah, I think this is the best way to do it. Yeah. What about the idea of gate into cyber instead of gate? So that's a very good point from Sass Screamer. You definitely, if you're mineral starved, you can do that. The cyber core being down is absolutely vital, as is the Zealot. So there is an option here to delay the second gate, but I think we're splitting hairs there. I think if we're not building 20 probes, like in this game, we don't need to do that. Sometimes Twitch chat makes really good suggestions. We'll come back to that if we need to, but I was thinking about it earlier, and I don't think we need to do that. I think the two, 3 extra probes or whatever it is we built this game is what made things, made that seem attractive, but we just don't build the probes. We should be okay.
And this, so I try to like walk through, and it's just over at this point because the Zealots die, and then I try to mineral walk, and I just mineral walk them straight into Zerglings. It's just we're done.
The Zealots are already dead.
So the actual microcontrol, you mentioned probes and workers in general just being a tank. In a perfect world, if I'm firing with both of my brain cells running, if the Zealots are on attack move and I get a couple probes just like move command following them to like keep them from being surrounded, ideally, is that what I'm going for?
I think that's way too fancy. Now, I think like printf would have some shit like that where you like manually hold positioning and then moving probes as they get low, and you'd be doing something like this. I never do that. Most pros don't do that. All I would say is you're just fighting with everything, but every now and then you're manually pulling back the Zealots, right? Okay. Or maybe you're grabbing a section of units around. You grab like a few probes and a Zealot, and you just move them in a direction to just move that section of your army back or forwards or something like that, right? Cool. And then you'll just go back to A.
Keep it in a blob rather than getting stretched out and thinned out.
Yeah, right? Pretty much. Cool. There are positions where because he drills through with his drones, your probes are actually kind of holding the choke right in the choke point. So this is something you can do to buy time. So you could actually wedge the probes at the front of your ball in this choke point where you've got like 2 probes in between the gateways. And he's like, and they're on hold position, and the rest of your army is on A move. So if he doesn't manually target those 2 probes in the gap, his units won't attack him, right?
Oh, okay. So that holds off these straggling Zerglings in the back.
So if his drones drill through an A move, they're going to be fighting on their own, and all of his Zerglings. So imagine none of his units have got in yet. So imagine none of his units have come in. So look at this. Think about this. Imagine you're the Zerg here. So you're like, I got to get in. I got to get in. There's no gateway going there, but there's 2 probes. Like say your army's just here. Okay, so you just kind of fight right now. You just start fighting. The Zerglings are starting to poke into the choke point a little bit. But then you select the 4 probes or whatever that are at the front of your concave, and you just press hold position. And the drones are drilling through you at the same time, and then they're fighting most of your zealots and your probes and a zealot, and your second zealot's popping out in a second as well. And the Zerglings are just derping. And then they start shift clicking on your probes. But then you just grab those 4 probes, you just right click them on the minerals and pull them back, or you A move them again, go back to fighting. But even the 3 or 4 seconds of them realizing what's happened, that's like so much Zergling damage they've lost and stuff, and all the Lings are still kind of stuck behind each other in the choke point, right? So, this is the thing is like, if we get completely pushed out of
versus drones, and I like that.
Yeah, exactly. And if we get pushed out of the choke point, like if all those Lings have surface area, remember you said the math, like 12 Zerglings. Remember, there's only 6 Zerglings at the start.
Right.
But even that's a lot against 1 zealot and a bunch of probes. But if they're in a choke point stuck behind each other, and if we're kind of killing half the drones before more than 1 or 2 or 3 Zerglings are fighting, suddenly that's great, right? And we're chronoing Adept behind it as well. And if you get 1 Adept out, it can out-micro this forever.
Yeah.
It's over. You don't need to rush. You can lose everything else. Just don't let the Adept get surrounded, and you'll be fine.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
All
right.
Cool. And I think the Cybercore should be pretty close to finished by this point. I think I'm not sure what the timing would be, but probably like 2:03, something like that. It should be finishing, which is pretty sick. Yeah. Cool. Keep in mind, there is something to be said for continuing to just build probes and zealots with this style. If we're like, we could simplify it. I didn't even build a Cybercore. I put a forge down and tried to get a cannon up. I think they'll always drill through the wall before a cannon gets up.
Right.
So I personally wouldn't.
Oh yeah,
but there is something.
A cannon didn't seem. I didn't seem like I had time for a cannon or even a battery.
Exactly. The only thing is, like, because we're going for Adepts and mining a bit of gas, it does split our focus a little bit. So, like, there's almost like a dum-dum focus of, like, no, just keep building probes and zealots. And that way we just have more probes for the fight, more zealots coming out. It's a bit simpler. It's a bit easier. I think we can handle this, though. And I think if you play against this again, you'll do way better.
Yeah.
So that should be awesome. Any other questions on this one?
No, I'm probably going to watch the VOD back so I remember everything you said. But, no,
Cool.
I think I'm good.
I'm writing down a few notes as well. Gas is secondary, 16 on minerals. We can cut probes at 17 to 19 probes to get second gate, core, second pylon all started as fast as possible. We're not going to bother gate blocking for now. I mean, if you find you've got everything else and you've got the minerals, we can go back to gate blocking to buy a few seconds, but that's fine. Zealot plus pull all probes, holding the choke, and leave just 2 probes mining. And we're going to be just a little behind the choke point, right? So we can let a few units in. We don't want to be far back, just on the inside of the choke point, right? So we're kind of letting the head of his army in, but only just. We still want to have like a sick little concave there where he's only fighting with a few Zerglings at once. And these fights are a bit individual and finicky, so I wouldn't say it's hard and fast on the micro there. I kind of would want to practice this a bunch against different players, look at different replays, to really look at the minutiae of it, to refresh us on it. So I'm definitely keep an open mind on how you adjust that micro as you look at those situations, but I think that system should work pretty well.
I was really hoping this was a hard and fast rule on this one, but no dice.
Oh, interesting point from chat. On this map specifically, you can wall off Golden Aura with 1 gate, 1 Cybercore, I believe. If you place them just right. I'm not sure.
I'll have to check. I think the
placement
subreddit
goes.
has. They usually have like all the wall offs for that stuff. I'll have to check that out.
Just make me the lobby host if you can, please. I loved your prep and summary for today, by the way, dude. That was awesome. PvP.
So this one. So to review, my game plan in PvP is basically 2 gate, expand, get 3 sentries, 3 stalkers, get to Twilight Tech if they don't do anything weird, or Twilight and Forge, work up to a 3 base gateway all in, and then see what happens from there. This is an example of the game that I'm pretty sure we go through the whole game plan and he survives the all-in, but it just gets to that weird fuzzy late game stage where I just make some really odd choices that I would like to find alternatives for.
So we kind of just want to strengthen our plan for post 3-base timing, right? We want to make like a list of like, okay, what's the
Make
checklist of what do we
squishy.
need? Yeah. And you'd mentioned Colossus. So while we're just looking at the opening, Colossus are a funky unit.
I think this is one of the games where I do decide to go Colossus. I can give you my reasoning. I don't know that the reasoning is sound, but
I go for it. Give us your reasoning.
So if I see my opponent going heavy into Charge Lot Archon, it feels like Colossus would be a steadier amount of damage because I'm not very good with Disruptors. Yeah. I'm sure Disruptors are also as good, maybe even better, but it feels comfier to me to know that I'm doing a set amount of damage if there's a ton of Zealots and a ton of Archons, especially a ton of Archons because I know that's what he's using their gas on. I feel like Colossi are better use of gas in PvP than Archons.
You're spot on, dude. No, Disruptors are better for Stalkers, for sure. Like, Stalkers kind of blink on Colossus or Disruptors, but Disruptors are a bit more powerful there because Colossus just don't do that much damage to them. Colossus is still decent. You get 3 Colossus, it's that long 9-range sustained damage that can, like, poke and prod. Against the Zealot Swarm, you can start a step back, like up a cliff, behind batteries. Colossus are so good defensively against, like, Zealot aggression and stuff. So there's times where, like, if I'm way behind in a PvP, I'll often be like, well, how do you defend the Zealot Swarm off of the blink opening, right? If you're way behind. And Colossus is one of the answers that you can get extreme like defensive efficiency out of. So that's actually a very solid choice. Disruptors are pretty good against them though, because they do such a bigger boom at long range. So Disruptors can kind of blast them down and stuff. But if they don't have Disruptors, Colossus are fantastic. So my only advice would be like, Colossus kind of makes you less mobile for a while. So your opponent often gets more bases. And then once Disruptors are coming out, they start to lose power as well, or air. Yeah. So you kind of want to like accept that you're down on bases, but be really safe, and then hit a timing attack is like the most common way to play Colossus.
And kind of like an intermediary gateway into Robo transition type of deal.
Yeah, exactly.
Colossus are a sometimes food.
Yeah. No, exactly, man. So that's kind of it. Yeah, it's a pretty good mix-up. It's not too bad. Now, in this game, we've been a bit behind on probes, like a few times. So I think maybe we could just probe a little bit better. I'm just going to quickly check that. We're going to do a little 4 times analysis, 4 times speed, watch the production tab. That's all we're doing here.
Yeah, okay, so I think there are moments where I don't have probes queued. I'm so concerned about being inefficient there that I just miss probe production.
Yeah, never a bad idea to have 2 probes queued in Nexus. Like, especially whenever I do a chrono, I try to get 3 probes queued on that Nexus because it's
there's ones. Yeah.
Yeah, we are on 4 times speed. So, yeah, there's a few probes being missed here and there. Definitely, I in general would say just break that habit of only building 1 probe at a time. There's nothing going on, so yeah, you can kind of do it. You really want to err on the side of, like, just occasionally go, okay, I'm just going to tap a single probe, do this like 1 or 2 things, and then immediately build like 2 probes per Nexus right afterwards. Yeah. It can't be like a habit. I just think 12 seconds is just too little. Unless you're playing insanely fast. It's a little bit too small. Now, on the other hand, I don't think it matters too much this game. This is like a small thing. This is like a little inching thing that'll make you a little stronger as a player. I don't think this changes.
That was not the reason I lost this particular game, but it's a good thing to keep in mind.
PvP.
So I think we both ended up cutting probes at around the same time.
2 probes per Nexus as default. 1 probe at a time only as a special, as you said, sometimes food. Which I think is a good way of putting that.
All right, so pause right here. This is me trying to do a think. So I think I've seen that he's got a ton of batteries at his third. And I don't know that I saw the wall off or absorbed it, but all the more reason. I know that I can't do my normal attack plan is I have a major, my main army going to attack the third, and as I'm moving that in, I have a group of zealots, usually like 8 to 12, that I shift, right click, A click, shift off a few, shift and right click, A click into the main, just let them run and do havoc, and then I just focus on the third while the zealots are running in. A, he has a ton of batteries. B, his gateways are shutting that shenanigans down. So instead of actually doing my 3 base all in, I just take 2 Nexi instead.
Cool. Do you normally
Good
go
or
a
bad?
prism? Do you normally go a prism with that, or is this Robo just kind of more of like a just in case he goes DTs prism?
That Robo, I actually I feel kind of squishy about that Robo. It's I don't want to die to DTs because dying to DTs feels worse than losing the game any other way. I don't know that it necessarily fits into this game plan if I'm trying to actually gateway all in, but that's why I do it. It's just I want an observer, and then if I have the minerals, I'll usually bring a warp prism too. But yeah,
I just think prism on the front would be in the back door would be amazing, especially like look, this guy's such a weirdo. He full walled himself in, man, and that to me is like such a weird thing because I'm like, how's he going to defend his main and natural? What's he going to do? Because what if you push the front and start poking around with stalkers? You're not really committing, you're just looking to like skirmish a bit. So you just make him warp in at the front, and then your prism goes in and you warp in 10 zealots in his natural or main. Like, what does he do? Does he recall half his army? Like, it just feels like it's going to be pretty hard for him to deal with while dealing with stalkers attacking the front. So for me, I would immediately be like, I want to punish this guy for being weird. You know, like there's that instinct popping out. I'm like, look, what are you doing walling yourself in? What are you going to have to recall probes every time you want to transfer them? Like, it's just, it puts you in an odd position, but it does give some advantages as well. So I personally would be like, oh, that'd be pretty sick. Because you don't have a prism by default with your build, I totally understand. The gateway stopping you coming in is huge. The batteries, I don't think the batteries are as big as cannons. If I see a mixture of cannons and batteries, I think I would be a little bit more comfortable. Like if it was just these 3 batteries and that was it, and you backed out of your attack, I'd be like, that's a soft move. We should just have committed anyway.
I believe I have another replay that'll we can address that as well. And I have lost to shield batteries many a time. But we'll get there when we get there.
Yeah, it's just one of those things where it's like we could still do it. Like, because think of this: what if you just attack the natural, tear one of these gateways down? Like he kind of has to fight you away from the shield batteries if we do a bit of micro. So like it's static defense is good, but like it only defends one area as well. So that's another thing we could do. And then once that gateway's down, you're flooding zealots in, and you're saying, "Come and fight me over here," and he can do a bit of micro back to the battery at the third for sure. Like, especially if you surprise him, he doesn't see you coming, you kill the front battery, then pull north to go for the gateway. His other batteries don't really reach that far. So that's an option. Cool. Anyways, but let's move on. Let's move on. I just wanted to touch on those. So you're going to go 4th and 5th base. What's your plan with 4th and 5th base here? Like, what are we doing? What's the composition?
So the composition is, I think, ideally, it's for a 5 base gateway all in. But I think even that doesn't pan out, and then I end up taking gases on my bases and going into Colossi.
Yeah, if we're going...
Because I see a bunch of Archons.
We could probably still make Mass Gateway work. If we did, I'd probably be doing something like DTs with it, and maybe double upgrades, to at least give it some depth. So if we want to go Mass Gateway, what are we going to do? DTs plus Blink. Prism, of course. We need a Prism, 100%. Second Forge. What the hell? Second Forge. Just 5 double upgrades. Okay, so that's something you can do.
How many gases am I getting?
That's a good question. I was just thinking now. I was like, how many gas do we get? Maybe 5 gas should be good for that, I think. Maybe 6. I think 5 to 6 gases should be okay. And I don't think we want to go past 80 probes at the most. That's like a pretty extreme probe count, So, you don't need to fully saturate that 5th base. You can just transfer workers to it as your other ones mine out. I think is a good way to think of it, right? We should probably have an idea of a probe count when we go to 4th and 5th base transition.
I'm gonna hit 3. Am I gonna hit 4 digits? I'm looking at my minerals. I'm floating hard.
All right, no worries. I was literally just tabbed out making notes. I can actually go windowed. That's all right. 4 digits isn't too bad. That's 1 warp in, really. So, this stage of the game, you're on 4-5 bases. Floating 1,000 minerals doesn't really matter. It doesn't mean anything. Floating 2,000 minerals for a long time, that's a different story.
But he's got a warp in. That's why I was falling behind on things.
Yeah.
Got zealots going on.
No worries.
We can speed things up a little bit, I think.
Yeah, I want to talk about I think the plan's more important, though, than looking at the replay first really quickly.
Okay.
So DTs plus Blink, Prism, Second Forge, 5 or 6 gateways. What's your probe count? Like, how many probes are you stopping at? You need to know this, because otherwise we end up like some games 70, some games 90. It gets kind of weird.
Oh, I've hit 100 sometimes. I do need to know this, and I don't.
Choose a number. We're on 6 gas.
80?
Playing Mass Gateway. You're going to go 80? Okay.
80
that means
on 5 bases. What's that? So that's, well, okay.
4 times 16. 4 full bases is 64 workers, plus 18
yeah, 64.
on gas is 82 workers. So 82 workers,
80.
6 gas equals 4 full bases, which in actuality is going to be your main and natural of both half transferred. So you've got, you know, main and natural counts as 1 base, and then you've got second, third, fourth base, all full of workers. On minerals, your 5th is not really being used, but it'll get transferred to as your main and natural mine out.
I literally just hovered over a pylon and found that there's a worker count thing there. I've been like doing the Wings of Liberty. Well, I've been looking at the numbers first of all, but I've also been doing like the Wings of Liberty thing where I've been like highlighting my mineral lines and doing counts.
Wait, just literally just then you just realized you can hover over and see your army versus worker supply? Wow, real time. That's awesome.
Oh my gosh.
It's huge. It's a good habit, dude. It's such a good habit. Boxing the probes is so sick. But obviously, yeah, once you know about that, how good is it, man? How good is it?
Okay, well, now we know.
New mechanics. I love it, dude. I love it.
Technology.
That's how it goes, man. So anyway, okay, 82 workers. That would be one plan. The other plan, I really want to quickly map this out. What about a more tech transition? Would probably be disruptors, right? A standard, or because otherwise, what else are you doing? Why else would we tech up? In my opinion, I don't know. If you have a different thing you'd like to do, you could. But
this is where Colossi come into the conversation. But honestly, Colossi would only be temporary until disruptors make sense anyway. Going straight for disruptors is probably the grown-up thing to do.
With that style, bit less mobile. We're not as swarmy. We get a cannon and battery on every base because we're playing disruptors. You know, just to help us with run-bys and DTs and things, which we can skimp on that a bit longer. You'd still eventually get it with the mass gateway style, but you want to delay it because we're trying to be aggressive and swarm and kill and shit. But essentially, just triple robo bay disruptors, right? That's it.
Yep.
Just add disruptors and get pushing. Mix in lots of observers. And make sure you have observer with your offlane squad. You know how the offlane squad works in PvP with disruptor wars? I'm pretty sure you're not good with disruptors, so I'm pretty sure you don't play any.
This is new terminology. Hit me.
So basically offlane, so you have main lane. So basically disruptors equals main lane, which is just a dodgeball game, right? Dodgeball plus vision game. And then you have offlane equals A, move some shit and do damage without looking at it, right? Without really looking at it. So that's normally what? Lots of zealots, essentially, is the basic one. So what is that? It's zealots. But then what counters zealots? Archons.
Archons, yeah.
So what counters archons? Stalkers. So you have this dance where it's like, hey, I got zealots. And they're like, well, I'll put some archons with my zealots on the offlane. And then they own you with an A move. And you're like, shit. So you run back to your base on that side because normally your main, you're fighting on one side with your main army, and this is off on the other side towards both of your 5th bases usually or something. So you pull that back, you warp into some stalkers, you go back and you do a little bit of micro with your stalkers this time, and you start picking off the archons and zealots and getting really good value if you can put the micro into it without getting your main army blown up by disruptors at the same time. So you might click your main army back a little bit whenever you're doing that because suddenly you actually have to micro. And then you go back to just, okay, he's going stalkers. I just go to master zealots and DTs, and sure, he can technically micro this for value, but I don't give a shit about getting 100 minerals picked off here and there. I'm just going to A-move 20 zealots at his stalkers, and then while he's busy microing, I'm going to go shoot disruptors on his army. More zealots plus go get a good position and good shots with disruptors. So this whole off lane plus main lane, basically it's like the main dodgeball is so intense that the off lane as like a low micro way of forcing reactions and getting value becomes a very integral part. And then, like I said, if they go stalkers to counter the Archon Zealot, then bam, you punish it by using, more
taxing
zealots.
their synapses.
Yeah. I mean, you can't multitask both very well. So yeah. And that's essentially disruptor stuff. But let's just look at what you did in this game and have a bit more of a talk about it. Let's fast forward. Okay, we're gonna clean up these zealots. We're taking a long time to do that. We're not splitting our army up too much. We did split up a bit, but yeah,
that could be handled better.
Our opponent's basically done. He did your build to you, dude.
He did.
He just clicked zealots into 2 bases and then attacked them for the 3rd.
Yep. Oh no, you're right. He didn't even warp prism. He did the exact maneuver I explained. I was so mad. I was so mad.
That's sick. He did your build. That's amazing. Good on him.
Yep.
This is why, like, the earlier you can figure out you want to go for the 5th base plan and get the 5 bases up and you know, get some map vision out and all that stuff, it's great. Definitely putting a few observers across the map for vision is fantastic as well. Yeah. In this scenario, you're taking a very long time to fix your economy. You kind of moved all the probes to the natural, then all back to the main. You're attacking without fixing your macro. I hate this. We already know he has Archons. Zealots can't do anything here. There's no reason for us to think our attack will work. Why? Because we've been investing in 5 bases and probes for a few minutes. And whilst he did trade a little bit of army for probes and a Nexus, did he trade a lot? I don't think we killed much. I think we killed the Zealots and nothing really in his main army. So I don't think we have any reason to think. I don't mind you moving to the middle of the map and, like, you know, just getting some vision. But I really think it's like, hey, dude, we've got 5 bases. I love that you're building a cannon on the south base, but we need to be like, okay, saturate main, send workers to the natural. Build a 3rd Nexus, keep probing. Natural saturated, rally to the 3rd. Sweet. Okay, cool. Now we're back on track. Okay, we need that 2nd Forge, that Dark Shrine. We've already got a few observers out, which is great. We're going to build a prism now. You see, you're kind of going disruptors. You weren't really going for the continued mass gateway style. We're kind of halfway between styles. So that would be really
because
nice.
I see all of these Archons, and I know that just swarming things with Zealots is not. It's the time is up on just building a bunch of Zealots and doing stuff with them.
Just remember though, we could still make the 5 base gateway style work because you're going to be attacking multiple areas and running in with DTs and prisms in the back. And those Archons can get picked off. You're not just headbutting the front. The longer it goes, you're not really just doing a frontal timing. Your Stalkers can pick off Archons for days. Oh, there's Zealots in the southern base. Okay, there's a Prism flying into his natural and warping in Zealots there. And my Stalkers are just kind of chipping at him on the front kind of thing, right? That's kind of more of the 5 base plan. And then you go, oh, my Blink DT finished. Or even just DTs. I warp DTs in his main and split them in his main and natural. And often that's a GG. Just getting DTs warped into their main or natural often wins the game.
There's no cannons anywhere.
So that's what you got to remember is don't think of it as I'm just a moving 3 base zealot. Well, you're on 5 base. You got double forge. You got better upgrades. You got more units.
I just watched him walk zealots into my natural again.
It happens. You were on a little move command. We all go on a little move command once in a while. He's got really good focus fire. He's focus firing his zealots on probes as well. He did a little shift click. Really lovely play by your opponent.
Just a quick little promenade into the mineral line.
Yeah. So the problem here is just we don't have a direction. You had a plan you were doing. You changed the plan to something you made up, but we didn't have a clear plan of what that was, right? Yeah. And that's something we've got a list. Bam, man, way more confidence. This Zealot run by in the south, not a bad move. If we had a Prism hitting the main and our army distracting on its own, it's going to be really cost efficient.
On its own, it's not going to do much.
Yeah. Do we reset our macro? No. After he attacked you, you still got 10 probes on a gas in your main, 4 on the other. We haven't been shift-clicking probes back necessarily.
No. Oh, no.
But just look at the system of how you're macroing. I can tell at no point did you slow down and say, we're fixing this. Because you're like, I'm looking at my 5th in the bottom right. Now I'm looking at my 4th. Now I'm building a cannon here. Now I'm building a cannon there. Now I'm building a cannon battery there.
Right.
And I know you're momentarily going to look back at your army and you're going to attack. But you still haven't fixed your macro. Right. You're kind of fixing it, but like we didn't put guys on gas on the natural. Let's take a look. Do we fix it? Don't look at your army. No, just spread some observers out and fix your economy. Fix, please.
Oh gosh.
We did get a lot of gas mining. You've actually got pretty sick income at this point. And now we're gonna go double robo. We definitely should go triple.
I think I do go triple.
Yeah, this push sucks. So
that was horrible.
What are we doing? We're charging in blind up a ramp against. We have no idea of what's happening in this game.
Yep.
Remember what I talked about when you're in disruptors? Observers. It's all about vision. So what should we do? Observer sieged here. You see where I'm signaling?
I don't.
Go back to everyone's camera. E for everyone.
Shit. Oh, yeah.
Observer, observer,
Yeah.
observer. Chuck an observer there. Chuck an observer there. He's not really doing the observer dance. He's not setting them up everywhere. He's got one on the bottom, which we could have cleaned up if we did this as well, right? But other than that, it's okay to lose observers. They're cheap. When you're on 5 base in PvP, it's all about the information because one disruptor shot
And
makes
you
up
got
for
3 robos.
10 dead
All the more
observers.
reason.
Yeah, exactly. And if you know where he is, like, cool, we can A-move the Zealots on the south. Unfortunately, our Zealots weren't A-moved, which is kind of a bummer. They were on a move command here, I believe. Or at least we move commanded, then A-moved. Which is kind of a bummer letting him take that base, whereas they would have cleared that. And yeah, if you saw him coming, you could have pre-fired those disruptors. First one probably would have scared him back or killed like a ton of stuff. And your army sucks in terms of raw fighting power, Stalker Disruptor.
Right.
It's good for like, you can throw a few disruptors and run away. But like, you don't ever want to push up a ramp like this unless you've got like a ball like Archon, Immortal, Colossus, like something like with real meat to it, more Zealots in the mix.
Right.
Stuff that's going to fight good Stalkers, more of a hit and run unit, right? So you really never want to get cornered with this army. I love trading against his army with your army. As long as you don't let him get too close, right? As long as you chuck the disruptor, pull back.
I've literally worked myself into a corner here.
Exactly, yeah. So that, I mean, the thing is, like, we have recall, right?
We sure do. Do we think about using recall? We do not.
Whatever you like that, always think about the recall. Dude! Did you see the assist? In his main base. Check it. He panic A-clicks his own cyber core and kills it, eliminating his ability to build stalkers for the next minute or so until he realizes what the hell happened. That's hilarious. Cool.
Neither of us graduated from Crown College.
Well, we're remembering +3. We're building Colossus now. Yeah, we really just stay on disruptors. You'll be fine and just get better at it. I think a few Colossus is never bad to mix in, but just the lack of vision right now is definitely very worrisome. You know, if I were you, I'd probably be trying to build pylons on the edges, get observers out there, all that sort of stuff. And you see, we're kind of just running at his army. If you see where their army is, what do? You just send a single disruptor forward. That's it. You try to get it on their disruptors if you can. You never run blind into the fog. And that's kind of what we're going to do in a sec, I believe. Your assimilators give you a bit of vision. As soon as we see those disruptors, all we needed to do was click to the right, and we would have been fine with our whole army. We would have been good. And he does some really good disruptor shots. Really nicely done by Lazy Marine. Really well done. So we're now going to go Mass Stalker Colossus. We're way too heavy on Stalkers. Unless we want to micro our heart out as well. Remember, about 15 Stalkers. If it's a big Stalker fight, there's lots of micro back and forth. Sometimes you need to make up to 25 Stalkers. Because otherwise you just can't keep up with like the Stalker micro. But we want to avoid that. Unless we're a fancy player who really loves our Stalker micro. So this is way too many Stalkers. We'd rather place that with some Archons, some Zealots, some Immortals, some other stuff in the mix. Or just have a smaller army, right? And have the rest of the units in the off lane running down the bottom. Like, imagine if 20 Zealots hit that base, right? Cannons aren't going to defend that. You know, you got some DTs as well. You got a Prism hitting the main and the natural. Even when you get to the Disruptor stage, you still win the game. Usually off the back of, like I said, the off lane, the Zealot swarm running in, and the Prism in the back with the Zealots and the DTs. So it's not a bad idea to still add those things. You know, the DTs, the lots of gateways, lots of Zealots. And you'd be surprised how many games it can actually win you. Let's just 8 times this to see what happens. Cool. Colossus are really good at picking away Zealots and Archons, like I said. Oh, we fired all of them just one at a time. Occasionally, if you think you're going to hit Immortal Archon, I'm okay with a double shot, but never the triple with the Disruptors. If you go the double shot, it can be huge. Yeah. So this is where...
Perfect pause.
Very well done. Very well. Yeah. Well, dude, he played good. But if you watch Cheryl using his Infestors, Rainy does it a bit now as well. I've seen a few other players. They're rotating the one to the front and the rest in the back because they're worried about getting EMP'd. I know you probably don't watch that closely, Zerg versus Terran, but I just can't think of the last time I watched like a great big disruptor war in PvP. I'm sure it happens in EU all the time. I just don't watch as many of the PvPs, I guess, because I've watched so many in the last few years, even though
I don't know that a lot of PvPs even get this far.
They used to, but yeah, I don't know really if it's been getting there. There was definitely a period a few years ago where a lot of the games got to this point. It was pretty cool to watch the details.
Real quick controls question. For some reason, I can't use my keyboard or mouse panning anymore. I'm following where the armies and
replay
stuff
bugs sometimes.
with, like,
don't worry, replay bugs sometimes.
okay.
Yeah, it should.
I can follow by like clicking on the mini map.
I've had that happen before. I don't know if there's a way to fix it without loading the replay. Maybe someone in chat has encountered it and knows.
No worries. I can still follow along.
And he goes carrier swap. Nice. Oh, you're going Tempest though. Good on you, dude. So you want to get an Oracle as well to tag if you can.
Got it.
I can't be making Stalkers now. We're still making Stalkers. No! Too many. Because, like, they're so bad against... Like, they can blink on carriers and kill them because he's got this ball of Immortals underneath. We do not want to blink on that.
Okay.
Yeah, so if I were you, what I'd do right here is I'd go, cool, what's my army going to be? Well, a few Disruptors is still good for dealing with the Immortals. So I'd still try to get a few Disruptors, right? Or I could just go for a bunch of Zealots. But he's got Colossus. So I'm going to go a few Disruptors on the ground. And then I'm just going to get, like, 10 Tempests out. Because they counter Colossus and Carriers, right?
Right.
But we don't have the supply. So I would have grabbed all the Stalkers and I would have just sent them down the bottom of the map. And that would have been my offlane squad to just run in, start sniping bases. His army's super immobile. And I just try to buy time. And I don't want to get them all cornered and killed. But maybe we kill a base, blink around, buy some time. We lose some Stalkers and we're replacing them with Tempest while that goes. So that's a really nice thing to do is when you're stuck on like a low tier mobile army and you're trying to transition, you want to just like take the low tier part of your army and just use it like a run by squad. Try to scout well with it so it doesn't just get thrown away for nothing. But otherwise, you blink in, you wrecked like two carriers with the Stalkers, and then they all just got shredded. It's kind of how it goes if they've got ground support. If they don't have ground support, Stalkers can do pretty well against carriers. If they don't have Void Rays or Disruptors or Immortals or anything like that in there to help out, you did pretty good, dude. But yeah, generally, you just want to like shoot, run away. You don't really want to fight. And imagine if he pushed in here and you just ran behind your base and run the probes away and you just keep shooting from behind your buildings, you just don't even fight. And your Stalkers are just A-moved in the bottom at the same time.
Yeah.
They're actually like, you're losing a base, he's losing a base, but your Tempests are picking off a carrier. Now another carrier. Now another carrier goes down. Now another. Like if you got enough to one-shot Colossus and carriers, he just loses his whole army if he doesn't run the heck out of there straight away. So it's actually really, really cool, man. You did good though. I'm impressed. Like you did a lot of things. What you're lacking is a plan ahead of time of what those goals were in those games, in the heat of the moment.
Right.
Can we look at another replay quickly? Is that possible?
We sure can.
I know it's pretty late for you, man. Thanks for staying up.
Yeah. No, thank you. So here's another one. Do you want a...
Let's do one more PvP
PvPs.
quickly, just to
Okay.
yeah. Let's watch one more PvP quickly to like touch on those points, and then we can talk about the one base tank marine drop BC you got hit by. Oh, cool! That'll be a fun one to look at to finish on you. We'll look at that to finish. We don't have much time, so they'll both be kind of like a bit on the lighter end. But if there's any follow-up questions that occur to you afterwards that we skim over, just send them to me on Discord, and I'll do my best to answer them. Lobby host.
Lobby host. Go for it.
Awesome. How are we doing, guys, in the chat? Thanks for being patient. Thank you, Jeep fan, for the sub. Guys, we are coaching Tryharder, who is a Masters Protoss player. Congrats for that. You hit it about a month ago, was it, right? Or
no, 2 days ago, Pig.
Oh, it was only 2 days ago?
Literally 2 days ago.
Did you tell me you hit it?
I sure did.
Was it that recent?
That was that screenshot.
Dude, that's... Okay, 4 days ago. No, 4 days ago. You lied to me.
4 days ago. Yeah.
I'm like, my perception of time is not that bad. It's still pretty bad, though. I think... There's someone else I coached who hit GM a month ago, Masters a month ago, I mean, as well, maybe. Maybe, I'm gonna try and, pretend that's the case. I'll pretend. No, congrats, man.
Very deliberately, my name is I Try Harder, because the name Try Harder makes it sound like I'm BMing people. It came off as rude. That's the feedback I got.
Like every time you block a guy from like blocking your expo or doing like a little harass, you're like, "Oh, try harder, you fucking loser! Try harder, you fucking idiot!" He's like, "Oh my god, this guy's a dickhead."
No. The name was meant to match my playstyle, which is suboptimal decisions at maximum effort.
Nice, I love it. I love it. All right, so we're doing a Stalker Sentry expand, 2 Stalkers, 1 Sentry. Our probe's seen everything, so we feel pretty safe. We're going to go straight Forge Twilight because you've still got a probe in his base.
I think I get to do my whole game plan here. I think everything goes about normally.
What do you think when you see the Robo?
When I see the Robo, pause real quick. When I see the Robo, I'm gonna do the normal game plan. I'm gonna keep sentry scouting in. Depending on how many gates I see, that's there's two things he could do. He could either, warp prism all in me off of 2 bases, or he could just be getting 3 bases normally, in which case I have an upgrade advantage, in which case the 3 base all in typically works.
Cool. Yeah, the Robo takes away a lot of flexibility. It's just like that weird single immortal prism push kind of with a bunch of sentries is scary.
Yeah.
So yeah, I don't think you really need a big adjustment like you said though, right? You're usually pretty fine. So it's just keep an eye on what he's doing. Stuff. Keep doing your normal stuff and just keep scouting. And if you see, oh, he's not probing or something like that, right? Then you can do it.
Mm-hmm.
Your opponent's a Brood War player, guys. We've spotted. Let us salute our 40-year-old plus comrade. We know he's at least 40 years, 35 minimum, at least my age, because he transferred his workers to the natural.
Oh, he did half and half.
He did the old Maynard. Yep, the old transfer the workers because they mine more efficiently spread across bases in StarCraft 1. It's been 24 years, 14 years since StarCraft 2 came out and changed that, but some people just, those old habits died. And it's not the worst thing in the world. It's not good. It is suboptimal, but it's not the worst thing in the world. And guess what? This guy's probing better than you yet again. So that's a cool little edge. It's nice to identify that we can get that edge, right? It's a consistent thing that we can gain. So your opponent's going charge, no blink. So in these games, the way you win is by you just attack and you use blink micro, and you can't lose. If you commit and just micro back steadily with your stalkers and are 100% committed. Because, they just can't keep up with the blink micro. Because, he doesn't have immortals either. If he had immortals, it might be different. Now, he's going to go Colossus charge. Holy shit, what a memer. Mad dog. Anyways, let's just focus on your build. Because I don't think your build changes. I don't think you've seen anything to change your build. We're going at 9 gateways. We've got 3 base, 54 probes. We're going to break the rocks down. And we are going to get going. Now, I would like us to be building a gateway on the other side of the map already. I feel like that could already be building, right?
That is something I'm trying to work into my games. I don't know if I remember to do that this game or not.
I think you just need a marker. Remember, whenever you forget
here we go. Yeah. It's late, but it's there.
Yeah. What can we chain it to that you never forget? Starting +2, maybe? If you've usually got +2 starting, do you wait for +2 to attack? What? How do we do this?
I don't think about when +2 is. I know I get +2. I don't time the attack with it or anything.
There's got to be something. You got to pick something here. I don't know. Is it when
getting +2 is probably a good one.
I mean, in this game it looks perfect. But I don't know enough of your games to know if you're always getting it. We'll do that for now. Let's always send probe out to proxy gate when we start +2 attack. I think. Now, obviously, we could do that earlier in some games. Maybe we need something that's more consistent. Some games, you're like, I skip the forge completely sometimes because of so-and-so. Maybe that, whatever. I think as long as this happens in most games, we'll stick with it for now.
Oh, yeah. I never skip the forge because you never know when somebody proxies a dark shrine off in the corner of a map. You need to build cannons or something. So, yeah. It's a good marker.
Great reaction. You just scouted and went, this guy's fucking unkillable because he has the craziest SimCity. He literally built an Archon turret. He has an Archon Colossus turret.
I thought I slammed my head into a brick wall this game. Okay, I did do the double expand.
Yeah, you did the double expand. If you attack into that, you're a psychopath. If you get a prism in the back,
I've done it
poke
before.
At the front.
I'm fully capable of it.
Oh. Please remember.
Oh yeah. Here we go.
Oh god.
Yeah.
Run away.
Yeah.
Run!
No, we're gonna fight. We're gonna fight into 2 Colossus on this. Yes,
he's making he's made a proper death ball, man.
Oh, the hold off with the DT. What a gamer!
Dude, this guy has.
That was actually pretty sick.
I mean, this guy is hung, man. You're right now fighting Donkey Warrior 69. This guy is playing like a savage. This is actually cool because he's doing a lot of things pros don't do. He's making up his own strategies. He has this guy has a fundamental understanding of what the units do and what he wants to do in the game. He's like, blink. Do I look like I'm, 300 APM tryhard? I'm just going to make charge and powerful robo units I can A-move. I got DTs, I got static D. I really like the way this guy's playing as his own style. Definitely not the most solid, but yeah. No, I think this is another one, though, where if we didn't just commit in there, but maybe we just kept the Stalkers on the map, right? And then we could try to run in. Like, if we see him move out, say our Stalkers were just sitting here. You see where I'm signaling?
Right, yeah.
And then you see him move out, and as he moves out, you just go in, and you basically just blink in, focus down a bunch of probes, blink into the main, recall out. And you've bought yourself time to probe up 5 base. You've done some damage. And then you have, oh, cool, I've got like my mass, huge Zealot Stalker army. And the thing is, Zealot Stalker wrecks his army. This is confusing to a lot of people watching as well as you, because I just said his army fucking wrecks yours, you can't fight that. If you surround his army fucking sucks. So remember what I said about Colossus being kind of weak? He needs to get a big death ball up. Because otherwise, if you come from 2 sides with charge lots, your units are naturally spread out. The splash damage doesn't do that much.
Right.
You get huge surface area, your Stalkers blinking and stuff, focusing down Archons and Colossus. His army disappears very quickly. And you are going to have a much faster 4th and 5th base saturated, right? Way more mineral income. So you can afford to be a little inefficient as well. So that's the thing, is if he does a push anytime in this period, not only can you run in and counterattack with Stalkers, we can also surround his army from 2 sides. If you're playing Gateway Man, you're the Zerg against a Protoss.
Yes.
You're the Bio-Terran against the Mech-Terran player, right? We're playing the mobile fast boys. We want to use that mobility. And I think that's really, really huge. So this is very specific. Verse, Colossus, Archon, etc. What do we want to do? Stalkers ready to base trade counterattack. Recall out if they come back. Set up a huge Zealot Stalker surround to stop any pushes. Now, don't get me wrong. You might want to go straight up to Disruptors or something like that after your 5 base. You're starting with the Gateway plan. But yeah.
How does one set up a surround like that?
That's such a good question. Because
it sounds like draw the rest of the owl.
It sounds so fancy, man. It sounds so fancy. This is it. This is such a good question. I'm so happy you're saying this and you're letting me stream this session. Guys, check this out. What you do is you have your Stalkers there. Let's say your whole army's defending at this point. You recalled your Stalkers. Your whole army's here. He's going to come with another attack. I've got 20 Stalkers, 30 Zealots. What do? We're going to box half that army, and we're going to put it on a different control group. And the main army goes to the left of the map, and the other army goes to the right. And then when he pushes, we fucking A-move it on either side like the bread pieces.
Oh, we just hit the Protoss bongos, just F2A on them.
F2A, just 2 blobs. If you can move them in so they're coming in at the same time from the same distance,
Even
that's
better.
great. That's perfect. But essentially, as long as you're coming from 2 sides, your units are naturally just going to kind of spread themselves out and kind of just hammer in on top of them. If you come in with a 3rd squad from a 3rd side, I mean, hats off to you, that's great. But let's just work on 2 sides to start. And this is why, this is why, Protoss players, Terran players hate me that I teach Zerg players this. I'm like, when you're at 160 supplier Zerg, do that every game, no matter what the fuck your plan is, because Zerg units are always swarmy, shitty, small units that you need to come... instead they always... How often do you see a blob of 40 roaches die to a disruptor and you're like, what are you doing? Just come from... All you need to do is just have your army on 2 chunks, one on either side, and then you just A-move, and it's great. As Newbie says, Captain Newbie in the chat, pincer attack in any strategy game has always been good. Being good in war, I'm sure Sun Tzu talked about it. It's generally a good thing. Surface area matters, basically. Dude, slick. You see, look at this. See how annoying you're being? So just imagine doing that with no commitment, right? With just 20 Stalkers and nothing else. And you just get in there, do some stuff. And then you could even then A-move Zealots on the 4th at the same time, right? And your Stalkers, you lose 10 Stalkers, but you do a bunch of damage, you recall out. And you're just in such a good position then. Yeah. And then if you got your own Disruptors coming, his whole army is hard counted by Disruptors, by the way. Right? If you get 5, 6 Disruptors, his army's kind of worthless. You can just take pot shots at him and fall back steadily, and he's kind of can't really push into you. Yeah. And you can always technically late game.
Now this army of Zealots is going against Archon Colossus with predictable results. Yeah,
we're just down in supply at this point as well. Yeah. And we're attacking on a ledge, around a corner. So remember, whenever we're on a corner that, our units are kind of in a kill zone because they're all going to clump together on the edge. We're not really going all the way around a corner, so it's not as bad. But yeah, his army is a zealot killing force. That's a scary force. If we're fighting that, I said, at this point, he's hit the point where I'm just going to base trade. He comes across the map. We're not even going to surround that. And that's the great thing about having your army split. Because, you just attack the top, fourth with one half and the natural and main with your other half. That's another thing. So it's better for base trading, or you can sandwich. It just gives you the options. You're kind of forward on the map, ready to base trade, ready to sandwich their army, and all that sort of stuff. Yeah.
Okay.
Awesome, Dan. This is great. I think this is really good. We got to finish up, man. I got to get going.
All right, sounds good.
The PVT, the drop into BC. Are you playing Blink?
That one I got blocked, so I did my panic maneuver, which is the Chrono Adepts and Stalkers go into Robo, and then that game plan is follow up into a 3-base Colossus all in, but really it's just get the Robo, get the Observer out first, get to Blink when I can.
I would say
the weird thing about his build is he walled off with the supply depot. I think he like cuts SCVs to wall off on the ramp, so I can't see it. I can't even see his gases.
Yeah, I think what you're going to do there, and this is just a theory, it's not as good as looking at the replay, is just, Observer across the map, and it's all about defending the first drop cleanly. So whether that means you're chronoing an Immortal out after, or you're just getting a second gate up and just making sure you're making Stalkers non-stop and protecting your economy at the start. Because it's often if the first drop gets a bit of damage and disrupts you enough, and then the BC comes in, if you can just get enough Stalkers, you will definitely deal with it. So, yeah. Apparently Shaka Zulu fucked up the US Marines with pincer attacks using spears versus guns. That's awesome. I didn't know that. Thank you, Twitch chat.
US Marines? Shaka Zulu, that would have been the British.
Well, that's what I was thinking. I'm like, I didn't realize that the US Marines were in Africa in the 1800s, I guess, but US Marines, Shaka Zulu. I'm like, I think he just typoed it or something. Yeah.
I do think that's a thing. I don't think it was America. I think it was the British.
Ever fighting Zulu. Yeah, they went to the Caribbean after 1812. They went to the Falklands. They went to Sumatra. I don't think the Marines in the 1800s went there. Yeah. I think we're thinking British. We're thinking red. They're in red, aren't they? Aren't they proper red coats?
Yeah, I think they were proper red coats.
The Zulu film, young Michael Caine as one of the officers. Great film.
That scene. That's a really cool scene.
Which one?
They're the one where they're completely surrounded by all the Zulu warriors, and they're doing the war chant.
Yeah.
Oh, it's such a good scene.
It was epic. It was an epic movie. I'm sure there's criticisms of how it represents reality and stuff. I'm sure there is.
I'm sure it's a product of its time.
I'm sure it's a product of its time, exactly. But it was a great movie growing up. I was like, whoa, this is crazy. This is wild. Anyways, thanks for the coaching, man. I just counted that as 3/4 of an hour. Sorry for the screw around with the times. We can set up the last hour whenever you want. Just shoot me a message. And like I said, any follow-up questions on Discord. Have a good one, man.
You too.
Have a good night, brother. Thank you to Try Harder. I try harder. I'm just going to keep calling him Try Hard because I'm an idiot.